So today I want to talk to you about how you can accelerate your progress. This is especially for people who feel as though they're plugging away and doing the right things, but not really seeing the rate of progress that they would like to see. And there could be a few reasons for this, but I'm going to really hone in on a couple of them today. And we're going to break this down a little bit just so that you can get some insight and maybe figure out if one of your problems is actually you. And, you know, there are cases in our lives where we will be really working hard to accomplish something and not really realize that the principal problem is us. We're actually standing in our own way. So we're going to talk about that today, and hopefully this will help you some. So I am Mark Johnson, the founder of Bounce Pep, bringing you a fit and flourishing future. I'm also the youngest son of Bill Johnson. Do me a favor, if you have not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe because I'm always dropping gems, and at some point you're going to hear something that's going to help you. So you got to be subscribed to make sure that you stay in the loop. You can also go to www.bouncepep.com, scroll down to the bottom of that homepage, and there's a sign up for our email list. Go ahead and sign up for the email list as well and keep yourself in the loop. So let's go ahead and get started here. So, there are a lot of ways that we can get in our own way, but I want to talk to you specifically about one today. And that is just trying to do too much by yourself. So you may be working on something big and important. Maybe you are starting a business. You're working on starting a business or something like that. Or if not starting a business, maybe it's something else, but it's something that requires a lot of effort and a lot of time, and it's multifaceted. So it's not as though it's one thing that needs to get done that will pull off the whole project, right? There are many things that need to get done to make this work. It's kind of like if you liken it to uh, bodybuilding. So you know you have your legs, you have your chest, you have your shoulders, arms, back, you have your core. All of those different muscle groups require work. If you're only working on the chest to the exclusion of everything else, then yeah, you'll have a huge chest, but you'll never really have the whole body as a system, you know, looking good. And you have to think in terms of systems. So this is what we're talking about here is how do you think in terms of systems and then operate in terms of systems. It's one thing to think about the systems, it's a whole other thing to actually operate based on systems. And the first thing to understand is that you can't do everything by yourself. A system is a bunch of moving parts that integrate together and basically work to produce some output. Now, what this means is that you're going to have two principal constraints directly related to you yourself. Okay. The first constraint is your capabilities, right? So this is very simple. You can't know everything and you can't do everything. There are probably like one or two things that you're really competent at. You're really good at it, right? And that's your thing. And you can do it better than most people. But there are going to be a whole lot of other things that need to get done that you aren't going to have the depth of knowledge in. You're simply not going to have the expertise, and you're not going to be able to do a very good job at it, even if you do try to do it yourself. So you run into a wall of your own capabilities. Now, of course, we can all learn new things, but my point stands. There are only so many things that you can really be great at. And the truth of the matter is, again, it's only going to be, a couple of things that you're really going to be great at, in your life. So what this means is that you're going to have to find competence elsewhere outside of yourself. And we'll get to that in a second. The next kind of limitation that you have is simply time. Look, no matter who it is, whether it's you or me or your uncle or your boss or your grandmother, it doesn't matter who it is, the president, the prime minister, whoever it is, we all only have 24 hours in a day. We all only have 365 days in a year. Those are hard limits. You can't change that. We often talk about health, um, wealth, constructive relationships, knowledge, and purpose. Those being the five pillars of being the total package. And when people talk about wealth, I think they tend to think about basically money, dollars and cents. Where I live in Japan, people think about yen. But the point is, people think about money. When you say wealth, people tend to think about money. They just fixate on money. But in my conception, one of the core components of wealth is time. And I actually think time is the more important component. And this is because, as I said, you can't increase the amount of time you have, right? You only have 24 hours in a day. That's a hard limit. You can't increase it. You can increase your income, right? You can increase the amount of money that you're bringing in. There is not necessarily a limit to that, right? But when it comes to your time, this cannot be increased no matter what you do. So what this means is that time, if you think of it in that sense, is actually more valuable than money because you can lose money, you can get money back, you can increase money. Time, well, once it's lost, it's just gone, right? You can't get it back, you can't increase it. Okay. So, and especially the older you get, the more important time becomes and the more you pay attention to time. So it's very, very important to understand that your time is limited. Okay. You only have so much time to do so many things. And the fact of the matter is, if you're trying to do everything by yourself, you're either going to run out of time to do it. It's just not going to ever get done. Or if you do get everything done, it's going to take forever. Okay. So you've got those two problems to deal with: your own capabilities and your own time limits. So what this means is that it behooves you to look for ways to be more resourceful. Understand that there are people out there who can partner with you, who can help you, who have the knowledge and skills that you don't have, and who would be able to do a much better job than you can do at a specific task. And they can get it done more quickly than you ever could. So once you begin to expand your network and expand your number of partnerships with different people and different organizations, then it's going to unlock your potential because now you're not limited by your own capabilities and your own constrained time. When you're able to leverage the capabilities of other people, that means that now you're essentially, I don't want to say commandeering, but you're basically leveraging their time instead of all of your own time. Because you can't really leverage your own time. That doesn't even make sense. Leverage has to come from someplace else. So anytime you're spending your own time doing something, there's no leverage to that. Now, you may be highly effective in doing it, but just understand there's no leverage to that. Okay. It's when you begin to let go and rely and trust on other people who are great at what they do that you gain leverage. Okay. And then the constraints on your time, they don't mean as much because now you're using other people's time. And as long as you compensate them well, they'll be happy to help you. You just have to be willing, of course, to part with some money. But again, if you think about the nature of wealth in the same way that I do, where there's a one component is money, but another component is time. And because time is the one that is definitely limited, then time is actually the one that is more valuable. Then you understand that in many, many cases, it makes much more sense to go ahead and invest some money to basically get something done more quickly so that you can make real progress. So this is what I wanted to talk to you today about. And remember that, I live in Japan, and one of the interesting things about being in Japan is you see how much social cohesion there is. If you ever come to Japan, you'll see Japanese people doing things, especially if you're like from a Western country, maybe from the United States or you know Britain or something like that. You'll see things in Japan that you won't necessarily just see in your own country. And I understand that goes for any country you go to. You'll see some unique things, but when it comes to Japan, there's a lot of social cohesion, and people understand that when they count on each other, they can get more accomplished, and they can get more accomplished more quickly. This is just everybody simply understands this here. Japanese people have a wonderful ability to band together, and everybody just takes a small chunk of a very large mission. Nobody is trying to be a superstar, but everybody has their part that they play, and it may just be like a tiny part, but there's an army of people working together, right? And it just all comes together. So the burden is never too heavy on a single individual, and everything gets done. Everything proceeds expeditiously. And this is how things tend to work in Japan. This is how Japanese tend to work together. Of course, you have conflicts and everything, but I'm just telling you I'm just giving you some general cultural insight that I've picked up, from living in Japan so long. And so what I'm trying to impress upon you is the importance of maybe letting go some of the personal control that you feel you must have, and understand that, you know, when you're trying to do everything yourself, you're actually just constraining yourself and you're slowing yourself down. So think of who you can bring on board that can help you and help you get things done more quickly, and actually make your dream, a real thing. Okay. Whatever it is, if you're working on something big, there are many components and you simply can't do all of it yourself to a high degree of quality. You just can't. You just don't know everything. You just can't do everything well. Okay. So with that said, I want you to just, think about what I've said to you today. If this applies to you, then take it to heart and understand that, you know, there's a way to make progress, right? You got to bring people on board. You got to reach your hand out and say, hey, can you help me with this? If it costs you a little money, say, hey, you know, I'm going to pay, but I'm trying to build something big. And so I need some help. Don't be afraid to find the right people, and especially people who are really, really good, really great at what they do, to help you get your, your project, help you get your dream moving more quickly. Okay. Because I don't want you to get stuck. All right. So with that said, I do want you to go and check out the Passion and Purpose Project at the Bounce Pep website. It's not for everybody. And, I don't take on everybody. There are some people that, yeah, definitely it's not for, but it could be for you. So go ahead and check it out. And I'm going to leave you with that today. I want you to take this with you. I'll talk to you next time.